was the ice-cold genius who made tennis cool. Bjorn Borg, the Iceman, was on top of the world, winning everything in sight. 11 Grand Slams, 5 straight Wimbledon titles, the face of a global sports revolution, and then, just as quickly, he disappeared. What could drive one of the greatest champions of all time to quit the sport at the height of his powers? And what really happened to Borg after he walked away? Stay with us, because you'll be stunned by the truth we reveal about his life at the end of this video. The Golden Racket, Björn's first obsession. Björn Runeborg was born in Stockholm on June 6, 1956, and it didn't take long for the world to see something special. His obsession with tennis began when his father, Rune, won a ping pong tournament and brought home the prize, a golden tennis racket. For young Björn, it was love at first sight. By age 9, he was dominating junior tournaments in Sweden. By 13, he was already playing and beating the country's top under-18s. The kid with the golden racket quickly became a prodigy, known for relentless practice, icy nerves, and a new, radical way of playing the game. Borg gripped the racket with 2 hands on the backhand, whipped heavy topspin on both sides, and ran down every ball with tireless athleticism. For the old guard, he was an enigma. For the new generation, he was a revolution. Rising star, youngest champion. It didn't take long for Bjorn Borg to start rewriting the record books. In 1974, not yet 18, he won the Italian Open, stunning the defending champion Ilie Nastase in the final. Nastase, baffled, famously said after the match, "We're playing tennis. He's playing something else." That summer, Borg won his first Grand Slam title at the French Open, coming back from 2 sets down in the final. He was the youngest male champion in French Open history at 18, and Swedish tennis fans had a new hero. In 1975, Borg led Sweden to its first ever Davis Cup victory, a feat that electrified his homeland and inspired an entire generation to pick up a racket. By the time he turned 20, Borg had already captured 2 French Opens, won the Davis Cup, and was ranked in the world's top 5. But his greatest achievements and his greatest challenges were just ahead. Wimbledon and the making of a legend. Borg's next chapter would make him a global superstar. In 1976, he arrived at Wimbledon as the most exciting young talent on tour, and by the end of the fortnight, he was the champion. Borg, barely 20 years old, defeated Guillermo Vilas in straight sets in the final, becoming the youngest winner at Wimbledon in the Open era. His style, long hair, headbands, fila tracksuits, was instantly iconic. The tabloids called it Borg Mania. Teenagers copied his look, while fans marveled at his ice-cold temperament. Opponents couldn't read him. Borg's face was a mask, his mind a steel trap. He never smashed a racket, never showed anger, never gave away what he was feeling. They called him the Iceman, a champion who could not be rattled. In 1977, on Wimbledon's centenary, Borg defended his title against Jimmy Connors in an epic 5-set final. The following years saw him build one of the greatest streaks in tennis history: 5 consecutive Wimbledon titles from 1976 to 1980, a feat nobody had achieved before in the Open era. On clay, he was equally dominant, amassing 6 French Open crowns in just 8 appearances. At his peak, Borg was unbeatable. He was ranked world number 1, won 11 Grand Slams, and held the sport's attention like no one before. His playing style, relentless from the baseline, physically punishing, mentally unbreakable, would change the way tennis was played forever. Borg versus Memsenro, the greatest rivalry. But no story of Borg is complete without his legendary rivalry with John McEnroe. The 1980 Wimbledon final, arguably the greatest match of all time, pit Borg's icy calm against McEnroe's fiery genius. The 4th set tiebreak alone is still spoken about with awe by tennis fans. 34 points of heart-stopping drama, with McEnroe finally taking the set 18-16. But Borg, unfazed, would come back to win the 5th set 8-6, cementing his place in tennis lore. The two faced off again in the 1981 Wimbledon final, but this time, McEnroe prevailed. Borg's Wimbledon streak was over. Still, the Swede's place in history was secure. He had become a global icon, a sex symbol, and one of the most famous athletes on the planet. Yet, beneath the cool exterior, cracks were beginning to form. The shock of retirement. Why did Borg quit? In 1981, after another loss to McEnroe in the US Open final and a disappointing year on tour, Borg's passion for the game faded fast. He was just 25, but the fire that had driven him from childhood was gone. Borg later revealed, "I lost all motivation. I couldn't give 100% anymore. I wasn't enjoying it, and if you can't do it with your heart, you shouldn't do it at all." Then in 1983, the bombshell. At just 26, Björn Borg officially retired from professional tennis. He walked away with 11 Grand Slam titles, having never lost a French Open final and never lost a Wimbledon final until that last year. Fans and fellow players were left stunned. Why would the Iceman leave when he seemed to have so much left to give? For a while, Borg stayed quiet. Rumors swirled. Was it burnout? Was it pressure? Was it something deeper? The reality, as Borg explained in later interviews, was a mix of emotional exhaustion and a loss of joy for the sport. After the 1981 Wimbledon final, Borg didn't stick around for the awards or the press conference. He simply left the stadium, went straight to the airport, and disappeared into the night. Was it truly just burnout? Or was there more behind Borg's decision to walk away? Could the pressures of fame, expectation, and living under a microscope have been too much, even for the Iceman? Life after tennis, struggle and reinvention. The years after tennis were difficult. Borg tried his hand at business, launching a clothing brand that quickly ran into trouble. The company went bankrupt, and Borg faced financial hardship for the first time in his life. The tabloids, always hungry for a fallen star, feasted on stories of Borg's struggles, failed marriages, business debts, and rumors of personal turmoil. He no longer had the structure and routine of a tennis career. For a while, he seemed adrift, searching for meaning beyond the baseline. Fame had its price, and for Borg, the transition to normal life was harder than anyone could have imagined. The failed comeback. Why didn't it work? In 1991, the tennis world was shocked again. Borg, now in his mid-30s, announced a comeback, but the game had changed. New rackets, new stars, a faster and more physical sport. Borg stubbornly insisted on using his old wooden racket, refusing to adapt to the modern era. The results were brutal. He failed to win a single match in his comeback, losing early at every event. What was supposed to be a triumphant return became a sad reminder that time waits for no champion. In candid interviews years later, Borg laughed about his comeback, saying he played for the joy of the game, not for results, and even poked fun at himself for his old-school stubbornness. Still, it was a tough chapter. The Iceman, who once made tennis look effortless, now seemed to be searching for something he couldn't quite find. Legacy of a legend, Borg's impact today. In the decades since, Borg has found a new balance. Inducted into the International Tennis Hall of Fame, he remains a beloved figure in the sport, an inspiration for champions like Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal, both of whom credit Borg as a pioneer of the modern baseline game. Borg also became a father to Leo Borg, a rising professional who now walks in his father's footsteps. Together they share a love of the game that finally is free from pressure and expectation. Over time, Borg has spoken more openly about his choices, his regrets, and his legacy. "I had to do what was right for me," he said. "If you're not playing for the right reasons, you can't keep going. I gave everything I had to tennis. When I stopped loving it, I knew it was time to go." Borg's influence on tennis remains enormous. He helped usher in the modern era, popularized the two-handed backhand, and showed the importance of mental strength. His Wimbledon and French Open records stood for decades, and his cool under pressure inspired a generation. More than anything, Borg's story is a rare one, of a superstar who walked away at the very top on his own terms. He showed the world that greatness isn't just about winning, but knowing when to say enough. So, what really happened to Bjorn Borg? He changed the sport, burned bright, and chose happiness over history. He faced struggles, made mistakes, but ultimately found peace outside the spotlight. And here's what may surprise you most. Borg has quietly become a mentor to young players and a symbol of resilience. His legacy endures, not just in record books, but in every player who values passion and balance over endless pursuit. What do you think? Could Borg have won more if he'd kept going? Or did he make the right call? Let us know in the comments below. If you love stories like this, subscribe and hit the bell. Up next is What Really Happened to Andy Roddick? Thank you for watching. And remember, sometimes the hardest victory is walking away when the world wants you to stay.